Hi again. Before we begin the story of the hare and the tortoise, let's talk a minute about the stories you've already listened to.
Excuse me, sir.
Well, hi, Mr. Tortoise. You're a bit early. I was just talking to our friends here about the fables. You know, fables have been popular for many years. I'll bet you didn't know that hundreds of years ago, children were listening to the story of the hare and the tortoise.
Really? I'm a the superstar.
As I was going to say, fables just never seem to go out of style, and for a very good reason. Each fable has an important lesson to teach, called a moral.
A moral? What's a moral? That silly tortoise doesn't even know what a moral is.
Mr. Fox, what are you doing here? Looking for trouble, as usual?
Oh, no. I was just coming for a little visit. That Mrs. Crow is still angry with me. I think I'll just stay away from her for a while.
Well, as long as you're here, why don't you explain what a moral is to Mr. Tortoise?
But of course, the moral is what the fable is all about. It is a lesson about right and wrong. Now, do you understand? I think so. A moral is a lesson about right and wrong.
That was very good, Mr. Fox. But after the way you behaved toward Mrs. Crow, I think maybe you ought to pay more attention to the morals yourself. And by the way, I hope everyone has noticed that the moral of each fable is printed at the end of the story. It'd be a good idea to take a look at them.
Excuse me.
Yes, Mr. Tortoise?
What is the moral of my fable?
Now, that's a very good question, and I think it's time we all found out. Are you ready to listen to the story of the hare and the tortoise?
Yeah, I am, but since I'm the star and all...
Yes?
Couldn't we call it the tortoise and the hare?
Now, Mr. Tortoise.
Well, it was just a thought.
Everybody around here is pretty excited today. There's going to be a big race. A hare against a tortoise. Doesn't sound like much of a contest, does it? Now, how did a slow tortoise ever get himself into a race with a fast-moving animal like the hare? Read along with me, and we'll find out. It all started a few days ago. The Hare and the Tortoise, page 14. A hare and a tortoise lived in the forest. They didn't like each other very much. The tortoise thought the hare acted much too superior. The hare thought the tortoise was slow and ugly. One day, the hare yelled across to Mr. Tortoise,
"How about a race on Tuesday, Torty?"
Mr. Tortoise answered carefully and slowly,
All right, Miss Hare. Tuesday will be just fine.
So early Tuesday morning, the forest creatures assembled to see the race. The hare bounded out and immediately took the lead.
That silly, clumsy tortoise will never catch up with me. I think I'll stop for a rest under this lovely green shade tree.
So the hare closed her eyes and fell asleep. In the meantime, Mr. Tortoise plodded on.
Oh my, I'm tired,
thought the tortoise.
Racing is very hard. I'm so hot and so tired. But it's important to keep going. One cannot give up. And I'm not going to give up. No, sir. Gotta keep on going and keep on going.
In the meantime, Miss Hare woke up, yawned, and ran toward the finish line. The crowd was cheering, but they weren't cheering for her. She could hardly believe what she heard.
Hooray for the tortoise!
Turtle power!
Yes, indeed. Mr. Tortoise had won the race.
Yeah, I did.
That's the end of the fable. But let's see if we can speak with Mr. Tortoise. Mr. Tortoise? Mr. Tortoise? Would you please come here for a moment, please? Our listeners would like to hear a few words from you.
Well, sure.
This race was a big surprise to all of us. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but everyone expected the hare to win. How in the world did you do it?
Well, it's true that the hare is faster than I am. No doubt about that. But you see, she's just too cocky. Yeah, she didn't even think that she had to try. Well, she found out differently. Slow and steady wins the race. I always say, slow and steady.
Thank you for those important words. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Tortoise, direct from his upset victory against the hare. Now, I think that everyone has learned...
Slow and steady? That is the silliest thing. What do you mean? I should have won
just
that
a
race.
moment, please.
What?
Ms. Hare is here, and she's trying to say something. What is it, Ms. Hare?
I just want everyone to know that I've challenged Torty to another race. We'll see who's the fastest. I just had a bad break today, you see. But just watch me next time. Just watch.
You think that Miss Hare has learned a lesson today? I wonder. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out at the next race. Do you ever get tired of the same old everyday routine? I guess most of us sometimes wish for a little more excitement in our lives. Country Mouse certainly did. She was ready for something absolutely, overwhelmingly stupendous to happen. At least she thought she was. Let's read the fable together. The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse, page 16. Country Mouse lived in a small cottage far away from the city. She led a quiet, simple life. But Country Mouse was bored.
Oh, nothing exciting ever happens here.
She pouted. Then one day she received a special invitation. Her cousin, Town Mouse, asked her to come to the city for a visit. At first, Country Mouse was very impressed with the city. Her cousin lived in a grand mansion. They ate the finest of foods and went to many interesting places. But the city was very busy and very noisy. Huge trucks and honking cars thundered through the streets, and people were everywhere. Their big feet stamped, and their loud voices shouted.
Get out of my way!
Town Mouse didn't seem to notice all this commotion, but Country Mouse became more and more frightened. She was sure that she would soon be run over, or at the very least, stepped on. She didn't like the excitement of the city at all.
Oh, life is too scary for me here.
She wailed.
I'm going back to my simple country life.
That's the end of the story of the Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. Hold on a minute, Country Mouse. Where are you going in such a big hurry?
I told you. I'm going back to the country. Who needs this traffic? Who needs all these people? Who needs to be squished under a truck? Who needs...
All right. Now calm down. Maybe you do have a point there. I guess the city life isn't for everyone.
You're telling me I won't ever complain about my quiet country home again. I've learned my lesson. I'd rather live a simple life that's free from fear than always be worrying about danger in the big city.
Well, you'd better get along home then, Country Mouse. And you take care of yourself. I suppose we all like to play sometimes when we really should be getting our work done. Anna Ant and Gertrude Grasshopper were no exception. But Anna knew that there comes a time when you just have to get that work done. And what about Gertrude? Well, let's see. Are you ready to read along with me? Good. Let's begin. The Ant and the Grasshopper, page 18. Anna Ant and Gertrude Grasshopper were friends. They played together and ate together. But one day, Anna Ant said to Gertrude Grasshopper,
I can't play with you for a while. I have to get my house ready for winter. Oh, Anna,
sighed Gertrude.
let's go down to the park and eat grass blades. Sorry, Gertrude, I must get my house ready. It's going to be a cruel winter.
So Gertrude went to the park alone every day and ate grass blades. She lay in the sun, feeling full and happy. Then, one day, a chill wind came down from the mountains. The snow fell, and the temperature dropped. Gertrude was freezing, but her house had blown away in the storm. She ran to Anna's home.
Please let me in, Anna. I am so cold and so hungry.
Anna took her in, but she said,
I hope you've learned, Gertrude, that it's important to plan for your future.
Well, another happy ending. Gertrude is a lucky grasshopper to have a good friend like Anna.
You can say that again. I am lucky. I would have frozen to death out there. Oh, you probably would have, Gertrude. And I was glad to help you. But it would have been a lot better if you had helped yourself. I hope that next winter you remember. I know. There's a time to work and a time to play.
Did somebody ever try to talk you into something that you thought just maybe wasn't a very good idea? Well, I guess that's happened to all of us. I know it happened to a group of foxes that live nearby. It all started when a handsome red fox named Neil went out for a bit of adventure in the woods. Let's read this story together. The Fox Without a Tail, page 20. Neil the fox was running through the forest one day when all of a sudden he heard a loud snap. He felt a sharp tug at his tail and cried out in pain.
Ow!
His beautiful red tail was caught in a trap. Neil was frightened.
If I stay here, the hunters will catch me. I'd rather lose my tail than my life.
So Neil pulled and yanked until he was freed. But he left his lovely tail behind in the trap. As the weeks passed, Neil missed his tail more and more.
I feel so ugly,
He thought,
I wish I weren't the only fox without a tail.
and that thought gave him an idea. One night, he gathered all the foxes together.
You don't need those silly tails.
He told them.
They are always in the way, and they are so heavy to drag around. I'm much happier without mine. I think all foxes should cut off their tails.
Oh, no, not me.
One wise old fox called out to him.
Turn around, Neil. Show us what a fox without a tail looks like.
When Neil turned around, the other foxes began to laugh. The wise old fox spoke softly to Neil.
We're sorry you lost your tail. But we also know that you wouldn't ask us to cut off our tails if you still had yours.
Well, that's the end of the story of the Fox Without a Tail. Well, I don't think those other foxes were fooled at all by Neil. He tried so hard to sound sincere. But once they got a good look at his backside, well, I hope that Neil and the other foxes learned a lesson from this.
I certainly hope so. Neil, what do you think?
I think I want my tail to grow back. The sooner the better.
Now, Neil, don't be a poor sport. Let me ask one of the other foxes. You there, Jeremy. Did you learn a lesson from this?
I sure did. It's wise to be very careful about accepting advice, unless you're sure it's for your own good.
That's a smart thing for all of us to remember. Now that you've listened to all of the fables, do you see why people enjoy them? After all, we should try to tell the truth. Be kind and thoughtful, and be honest with one another. Those things were important in Aesop's day, and they're important now. I hope you enjoy listening to the stories over and over. Bye now. From all of us.
Goodbye.
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 Take care of yourself.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
See you soon.
So long.
Goodbye now.